Hello and welcome to a new breakdown video. Today I'll briefly show you how I created this stylized military crate using real-world references and adapting them into a more stylized design language. This project also has a full-length version with no time lapses, completely explained in real time. You can access it by becoming a channel member or by purchasing the class as a one-time product. So let's get started. For this project, as usual, I started by gathering image references. I normally don't work from a single concept art, so collecting multiple references helps guide the design and avoid common structural mistakes. I began with a simple blockout of the crate's main frame using basic tools like the mirror modifier, just to avoid modeling every side manually. This keeps the workflow efficient and consistent from the start. At this stage, I focus on maintaining clear visual proportions between the frame and the extrusion sections. Good balance in these primary shapes is essential, especially in stylized work, where exaggeration still needs structure. For the inner panels, I use a single mesh for the front face. The side and back panels are duplicated as instances, so I only need to edit one of them and the changes automatically apply to the others. This keeps everything clean and easy to adjust while refining the design. As usual, when working on the high poly model, I use a subdivision surface modifier set to level 3. Instead of adding too many lob cuts to control the edges, I prefer using a bevel modifier set to weight mode. This gives me much more control over where I want the bevel to happen. I simply assign the edge bevel weights to specific edges and the modifier handles the rest. This approach keeps the mesh cleaner and more flexible. If I need to adjust proportions or refine shapes later, it is much easier to edit without dealing with excessive supporting geometry. To create the front pieces, I use simply base meshes like planes, cylinders, and cubes, combined with the same modifiers as before. For some elements, I duplicated them using Alt+V to create instances. This way, if I need to adjust something later, I only edit one piece and the changes propagate to the others. It keeps the workflow more efficient and consistent, of course. At this stage, I focused on closely observing the references and translating what I saw into stylized forms. Even though this is a static mesh and the door will not actually open, since the interior is not modeled, I still aim to maintain a logical construction. The hinges and the structural parts should make sense as if the crate could function in reality. In these cases, carefully studying real references is essential because they already contain the mechanical logic we need to replicate. UVs are a topic that deserves a detailed explanation, and that is something I covered properly in the full class. For this breakdown, in simple terms, the main thing I focused on was organizing the 4 side panels clearly inside the UV layout. I made sure they were properly aligned and positioned in a logical way. This becomes very useful if you want to add text or a logo later during texturing. For example, as a decal, having those panels straight and well arranged makes the process much easier. This is not only helpful for us as artists. If the model is made for a client or sold online, whoever uses it might want to replace the logo or edit the text. With an organized UV layout, they can simply modify the texture without struggling with rotated or messy UV islands. It is not strictly mandatory, but it is one of those small decisions that can significantly improve the usability and flexibility of the final asset. The colors you see here are simply Vertex paint applied to specific meshes. I use them as masks to quickly assign different materials to each color later in Substance Painter. This makes the texturing process much more controlled and efficient. For the sculpting stage, I did not spend too much time adding heavy detail. I mainly used a scrape brush. You can use the one from my Stylized brush set if you have it, or simply tweak the default Blender brush settings. The result is essentially the same. I added subtle edge wear and small surface imperfections, which are very common in stylized models. The goal is not realism, but control variation. This helps to prevent the asset from looking too perfect. Later, when you add dirt or rust during texturing, this sculpt details support the material work and keep the final result balanced. Once the model is baked inside Substance Painter, I start by applying my stylized base material, which is available for free in the description. From there, I mainly adjust the colors for each part using the ID maps we prepared earlier. This makes the process much faster and more controlled. The texturing stage is fully creative. In the complete class, I show the entire process step by step, explaining every decision as I go. Overall, I try to maintain a balance between dirt, edge wear, and surface detail while preserving the stylized aesthetic. If we push the dirt micro details or hide information too far, the model starts to lose that clean, stylized harmony and can feel overly saturated or unintentionally realistic. The key is control exaggeration and the visual noise. For the decals, I use fictional text. In your case, you can use anything that fits your project, whether that is custom text, logos, or graphic elements. It all depends on the purpose of the asset you're making. One important recommendation is to make sure you are using properly licensed fonts. If you have an Adobe subscription, you can use their fonts freely as long as you rasterize them in a final texture. Try to avoid using fonts from unknown sources to prevent potential copyright issues. This is simply a professional design recommendation. If you're looking for free and safe alternatives, Google Fonts is always a reliable option. And that's it for today's video. I know this breakdown moves quickly and doesn't go deeply into every step, but that's the nature of this format. It's meant to give you a clear overview of the full process. If you want to see everything explained in detail, remember you can find the complete class in the description. I also have longer free videos tutorials on the YouTube channel that you can learn from. I hope this was helpful and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.